Hey, good morning. Kind of a late start today. Getting ready, had to go up with my dad and get some stuff ready for the youth mentor doe hunt that starts tomorrow. Whew. Sorry for the yawn there. Another late night, and that's not me. I'm on an old man like sleep schedule. So, no, carving project's just about done. And again, we're getting down to where we don't have a whole lot of new chips. So we're going to keep the chips we have. And this is getting to the point now where it is probably dry enough you don't have to put chips back. But it's just a good insurance policy, and it really does help. And when you slow down how these dry, it does control cracks and checks. So we've got our depth pretty much all done. And I do have a depth gauge, but I'm trying to do most of this stuff with some of the simplest tools I can for people, just because you're not going to have all that stuff when you start. A small bowl gouge and a couple carving knives and a spoon knife, really all you need. So like I said, just gonna take my pencil in here, set it down. So we're about yo deep. I've still got about a ½ inch of material down here, and I really don't like to go much more than that. I like to leave a pretty heavy base just because it'll rock back to itself for weight at that point, kind of like a boat ballast. We don't need the pinch board anymore because what we're going to start working on are thinning these sidewalls down. And for that, you just need the regular vise to get your angle. This is where a bowl or spoon gouge works best over even the spoon knife. Because you're going to undercut this line, and literally you're just going to take your gouge here, and you shouldn't use your fingers, but you're literally just going to roll that line, and that's going to do that nice smooth undercut for you. And it is 100% an experience thing on how much material you want to leave. When my projects are done, I try to keep my sidewalls on a project this size about a 1/4 inch thick. I showed this in a video a little earlier today. This is a bigger split of basswood. Basswood that I started. This is going to be a bread bowl, an actual bread bowl that I'm going to make to show everybody a bigger project. When I'm making bowls, I don't like using sawed pieces. That's why this is just a split. I did get a flat hand planed on here so we can start working this bowl around. And this had just a little bit of outside moisture, even though this was a dead standing basswood that I cut down last year. Your outer wood almost always holds some moisture, so I like to do just a basic cut, and I have got pounds and pounds of big shavings that I took off from that with the draw knife yesterday. So that'll be a little more in-depth project. But for this one, like I said, just really thin walls are all you need. Something like that, I would be ½ inch to 3/4 inch thick walls, just for stability. And it's all guesswork. There is probably somebody out there that could tell you the wood density and the hardness of said species of wood to moisture ratio for how thick a stable piece should be. I'm not that guy. If it's a small project, I do 1/4 inch sides. If it's a spoon, I do roughly 1/8 inch thick sides. Unless I'm getting real greedy, I have tried doing some 1/16 inch thick spoon sides like this one. Like I said, you can see the light through it, and I'm just not comfortable getting stuff that thin. But I guess the hard part with carving, especially when you're working with green species, and you can only do so much at a time. You can only carve so much at a time on a piece. You know, if I could take a day and carve out a project this size completely in an afternoon, but it's gonna crack at that point. You know, so, and that's that's probably part of the reason why my shop's so cluttered. Because when I do get working on projects in the fall and the winter, I typically have, you know, 6, 7, 8 different projects going at a time, all in different stages. Drop stuff here. So like, did a small video on, I got some finish on this. It's drying now, setting up on my drying shelf. One of these little pendant spoons of mine, I finally got a coat of boiled linseed oil on this, and might do something a little different with that yet too. Here's one of my just utility camp spoons. I still got to do some sanding on this, but I got it super thin, so I'm trying to see exactly how I want to finish this out. But like I said, multiple projects I've got. When I do get my floor cleaned up, so people don't judge me too bad, I will show you, you know, a bunch of the splits and stuff and how I store them in my shop. I am a firm believer in clutter. Like, you know, when you're really just getting to it on projects and stuff, at least from a farmer mentality, you know, I might get 20 minutes to come in here and work on a video and a carving project, and I've got to go get a firewood order, you know, split, stacked, and ready to ship out. I might have to bundle firewood for one of the places I sell firewood at. I might have some lumber orders to saw. I might have to go up and help Dad, you know, pick corn or pick pumpkins. So I am constantly bouncing all over the place. So clutter is just part of it. You know, sometimes you got to drop what you're doing and head to something else. So I just kind of learned to embrace the chaos of it. And I know some people that clutter, that chaos absolutely drives them nuts. And it's one of those, if I was going to let clutter be the thing that drives me nuts, I'd have been insane a long time ago. So I just learned to kind of work with it, embrace that this is just the way things are where I run. So when you drive past a farm and you see a clutter or a mess stacked up somewhere, just remember that they got a pretty chaotic lifestyle. They got to run around every which way but loose, and do it on a budget that most people wouldn't want to survive on. So just take that into your judgment process, and shouldn't judge people anyway. But enough of that rant. So like I said, with these projects, get a shelf somewhere in your shop. If your shop is inside your home, height doesn't necessarily matter. If you have a heated garage, like an actual heated garage, the height doesn't matter. If you have a shop like mine where your heat is just set to kind of keep your hydrographic dip tank and your ultrasonic tank from freezing, my control heat in here is thermostatically set up for 35 degrees. I have a wood heater that runs everything else. So my wood carving projects, to dry them, typically I have a small terracotta chimney sleeve that I put these in, that's right next to the gas and wood stove heater. when I'm not running the wood stove, and these all set in there in their bags with their wood chips, and it just maintains a slightly higher temperature. I have a bottom and a top draft port, and again, like I said, I'll do a video on that later so you can see that allows airflow to let this stuff dry slow. In the winter months when I am running the wood stove, there's a shelf that's getting put up over here, and these projects will go in their bags up on that shelf just because heat rises, and that's going to create that air circulation and that draft to keep these drying nice and slow. I gave my daughter one of the carving bowls that I showed the other day, the one with crack in it. She's going to draw some different stuff on there just because she is a way better artist than me. Haven't made up my mind fully what I'm going to carve on the outside of this one to get a little bit more into the artistic side of things. But like I said, get your sidewalls thinned down about a 1/4 inch. I had already done it on here, but I wanted to show you the process of it. Once you get those walls thinned down, you're going to have like some hips and valleys from the gouge. And that's where I like taking my spoon knife, and you're going to go across those hips and those valleys. And if your spoon knife is quite sharp, you should be able to hold this in your hand because you don't need a lot of pressure. And you're going to almost use it like a cabinet scraper. And then I like to take my hand on the back of the knife here. And like I said, just nice and gentle. If it's trying to dig in, flip your piece around and go the other direction. One way wood will shave, and one way wood will split. So you just have to, I say work through it, but just figure out where it's at. If you're not comfortable doing it that way, you can use sandpaper. You can use riff files. So I have a bunch of these, and most of them I got for gunsmithing, but these are riffling files. They are bent, so you can get into those curves with them, and they make these in a bunch of different sizes too. And I'll try to figure out some places you can get them from. And somewhere I have some cabinet scrapers I made specifically for doing stuff like this. But most of the time, the spoon knife has got a nice big handle. It doesn't hurt your hands to hold it, especially once you get that dexterity built up from carving. And I don't do a lot of carving anymore holding stuff in my hands, just because I've worked with my hands my whole life. I'm a farmer. I've already started to get arthritis built up in my hands, so holding stuff and gripping stuff for long periods of time just creates a lot of pain. So most of the time I do use a vise or a shave horse to hold stuff while I work with it, just to save my hands some of that fatigue. I got a splinter already today. Ouch. But again, I want to thank everybody that has liked and followed my TikTok videos. I thought that was pretty awesome. I got enough people on there already that I can do some live stuff, which I honestly don't know if I can do that or not. I'll have to have the wife show me how that works. She's got quite a lot more experience with TikTok than I do. And I got to sit down and start putting some of this stuff on YouTube as well. But where I am not a guru in the world of electronics, and that I just don't. I am not too overly excited to learn a new button pushy thing when most of my adult life has been getting away from electronics. I don't like them. I don't like what they have done to our youth. You know, when this stuff first came out, everybody, myself included, was like, man, this is going to be an awesome tool. You can find out so much stuff so fast. And I do still believe that electronics are an absolutely awesome tool. But just like any other tool, when you truly are using them for the wrong reasons, you can turn anything into a weapon. And I think some people have turned these things into weapons. And I don't know how much I want to be involved in in that either. So it's taken me a bit to get behind it, but one of my buddies told me, for everybody that's using it for bad, there's probably 10 or 15 people using it for good. And me being the gun nut that I am, I think I've said that before about my my firearms. So I decided that if I didn't kind of get into the fold on some of this stuff, I would be a little bit of a hypocrite, and I don't necessarily care to be one of those. But that's enough of that rant. So when you get this all smoothed out, like I said, use your knife. The next tool you're really gonna need, and this is where your hand dexterity is probably really gonna try your patience. I have what I call as a thumb saver. It's a little piece of scrap. Well, this is actually maple burl, but it's just a little piece of scrap burl. And I've got a slight sanded taper on this end and a sharper taper on this end. And you're going to grab a piece of sandpaper. Depending on how good your carving is will depend on what sandpaper you need to start with. Most of your carving projects, 80 grit to 100 grit is going to be perfectly acceptable to start with. Most of my stuff I can get cleaned up to the point where I can start with 150 grit. And I'd like to say it's super, super technical, but I literally just take this, fold it around my thumb saver here, and you just start working into those corners. If you're a young person and you've got good dexterity, you can just use your thumb, use your hands. You don't need to make any special tools for it. And again, how you sand your project is up to you. Personally, when you hand carve something like this, even on the inside, I try to leave some of the carving marks. Let people know you did this by hand, and that's that's part of the appeal, I think, to some people is, they can put this on their shelf and know that somebody took the time to just absolutely, bore this out with their bare hands and some steels. Pretty awesome. And when we get the inside of this all sanded and smooth, I will put, and I'll save that for another video, but I will absolutely saturate the inside of this with boiled linseed oil, and I will not put any finish at all on the outside yet, and I will still leave this in a bag with chips because I'm trying. Using the boiled linseed oil, you're putting the boiled linseed oil on the inside here. Leaving it on really heavy, really thick is going to allow that moisture to seep out through the outside that you have left in here. And at that point, I can put it in wood chips. I can put it in a little bit warmer location than what it's been in so far. And just keep going from there. Like I said, that'll probably be the next video on this, is me getting the inside of this all sanded out clean and ready to go. And I'll show you how much boiled linseed oil I would put in a small project like this. And we'll go from there. But hey, if you see this let me know if you want me to try to put a live together. Again, I don't really know what I'm doing there. If people have enough interest in it, I will gladly at least try to do it. I can't guarantee how well it will go, and I can't guarantee that it won't end up on like some funny TikTok. Watch the old country redneck guy stumble all over himself. But hope you all have a great day. I hope my videos are helping you. And like I said, if this electronic stuff's got you down because the news sucks and the politicians are being kids and everything's just driving you nuts out there, shut this electronic shit off. Go grab a hand tool. Make some sawdust. Get outside. Play with your kids. It really does make life better to put these damn things away from time to time. Have a good day, guys.